This next song that I'm going to do, I was at a time where my dad had just passed away with cancer. He was a pastor, and I was struggling, and I saw the things going on around me, and I was kind of getting in this pit, and I felt like there was no way out. But then one night I was talking to Jesus. And I said, Lord, you made the lame to walk and you caused the blind to see. What can you do in me? So no matter the situation, he said, Jace, this is not the end. This is only the beginning. Use what's happened to my glory, and I will do great things. And it's amazing. That was in 2007. And it's amazing the great things that God has done through my dad, through me, if that makes sense. But it's not an ending, it's a beginning. And this song is just about, Lord, I've seen what you can do. Savior, please show me what you can do in me. So just listen to the words and apply it to your heart and your mind this morning. Worship you, Father, I call you my friend. I will worship you until the very end. Savior, Redeemer, healer and friend, I know you would do it all over again. And I bow my head, and I bend my pray. Savior, take this life from me, and make it a life that lives for thee. And in my darkest of hours, may I turn to the one who's proven once again. You made the lame to walk, you cause the blind to see. I know what you can do in me. Savior, please. Savior, please. I worship you, Father, I call you my King, I surrender to you my everything. Son of God, blessed Prince of Peace, Creator of everything, and I bow my head, and I bend my knees, and pray. Savior, take this life from me, and make it a life that lives for thee. And in my darkest of hours, may I turn to the one who's proven once again. You made the lame to walk, you cause the blind to see. I know what you can do in me. Savior, please. Savior, And I bow my head, and I bend my knee. Pray, Savior, take this life from me, and make it a life that lives for Thee. And in my darkest of hours, may I turn to the One who's proven once again. You make the lame to walk, you cause the blind to see. I know what You can do in me. Savior, please. Savior, please.
Amen. Did you all catch that Jace wrote that song? And this is almost scripture to say, this is my son-in-law in whom I'm well pleased. And I've got a special treat to have my granddaughters come over and hug me there this morning, because I'm usually up in the sound booth. But I will tell you that Wednesday night, and we're supposed to have a childlike faith. Wednesday night, the pastor said that Sunday morning, Brother John Ed is going to be speaking about the elephant in the room. And Ellie started looking for the elephant. I don't know if you heard Jace pray for wisdom for me, but Jace, that's been something people have been doing for over 60 years. So maybe it'll work this morning. I pray that it does. Thank you all so much for coming. I think it's a topic that we have ignored entirely too long in society and in the church, and you can see it there on the board. What is the elephant in the room? The dictionary says it is a major problem or controversial issue that is obviously present, but is avoided as a subject for discussion because it is more comfortable to not talk about it. Well, this morning we're going to talk about it. And it's going to be a little raw, but I do want to be sure, and I'll probably say this a couple of times, I want to invite you back, and those of you that are on Facebook, to watch again sometime when our pastor is speaking, because he brings messages that often are referred to as a masterpiece by him. He's the one that says that. They are masterpieces. He's a great pastor to this church and to the community, Don Hawkins. And he had to be out this morning, and I think that the Lord prepared me and hopefully you for this at just the right time, for such a time as this. The church has come a long way since the 1960s and 70s, and so has society. In the 60s and 70s, the two most prescribed treatments for depression were snap out of it, and what have you got to be depressed about? And we didn't promote this talk as a cake and ice cream social or an NCAA championship event. We didn't say we were going to draw for prizes. And our church that normally runs around 70 people had over 3,100 Facebook views this week. And so I think depression is the pandemic that this nation needs to give attention to. I'm going to talk about 25, and I could talk about more, but briefly I'm going to touch on 25 different people's stories without using any names. I've talked to the families, and this is amazing to me, but out of these 25, 22 of them are either in the 2nd or 5th district of Loudoun County. There's only 3 that are outside Loudoun County. Now, the first thing I'm going to mention is these 2 men did not commit suicide. Their lives were taken in the line of duty. But last month, one of our finest police officers, Chris Jenkins, was killed on I-75 in the line of duty. And he's the cousin of Jason Scott, who also was killed in the line of duty several years ago. And I have been contacted by police officers this week that have said that they have notified every employee of the Loudoun City Police, Fire and Rescue, Lenore City Police, Fire and Rescue, and Loudoun County Police, Fire and Rescue, and the Rescue Squad, and the Wrecker Service, because they say all of the people that responded and that close-knit family are experiencing PTSD, and that's one of the things that we're going to talk about. And, you know, the families of, I've been told that the families, both these men, would be watching online this morning. I'd like to have a moment of silent prayer for all that have been touched by that incident, and also the doctors and nurses and healthcare workers that have had so much stress over the last 2 years, as well as all the branches of the military and their families. If you just a moment of silent prayer, please. Thank you. So, let's talk about the elephant. The story is told of 6 blind men who wanted to inspect an elephant to see just what it was. And the first man's hand landed on the trunk. And he said, an elephant is like a thick snake. And the second man's hand reached its ear. And he said, an elephant is like a fan. And the third man touched his leg, and he said, an elephant is like a pillar or a tree trunk. And the fourth man had his hand against its side, and he said, an elephant is like a wall. And the fifth man felt the tail, and he said, an elephant is like a snake. And the sixth man touched the tusk, and he said, it's sharp and hard and smooth like a spear. None of these men grasped the entirety of this beast. Depression is like the elephant. It is a huge beast, but we're like the blind man. We only know how it touches us. Our experiences may be different, but we are not alone. Which part of the elephant is crushing you or someone that you know? Here's just a few possibilities. Chemical imbalance, being bipolar, substance abuse, victim of child abuse, career change or job loss, loss of a loved one, loneliness, extended illness, loss of connection, FOMO, or fear of missing out, envy, the Facebook posts that people put are not a true representation of their life, holding a grudge, problems with family, issues your children may be facing, rejection, regret, marital problems, betrayal by someone you trusted, separation or divorce, postpartum depression, loss due to fire, flood, tornado, PTSD. That last one up there says worry. Now, you might think that I'm a worrier, but I like what my counselor said. He said that I have a low tolerance for uncertainty. My family set the bar in that category. So, I would want to tell you there was a local man who contacted me this week and told me that he had depression and thoughts of suicide as a result of the reaction to the medications he was on while he was hospitalized. And my dad didn't like for people to say, big boys don't cry, because grown men need to cry, but they still hold it in. Now, my question is it okay to cry? Sure. I've got a 2-word answer. Jesus wept. Now, that's proof enough for me. Now, The Bible also says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. Did you know that our eyes produce 3 kinds of tears? Reflexive tears are the kind when smoke gets in your eye, or if you're dicing an onion, when you get a foreign object in your eye, and they are 98% water. Tears of happiness contain endorphins, serotonin, and dopamine. Both of these increase when you're happy, and they come out in your tears. Tears of sadness contain, and I'll not pronounce this right, but leucine enkephalin, and that is a neurotransmitter that is released due to stress. So when you're under stress, that's in your body, but if you're not crying, maybe you're not letting those chemicals escape. And that reduces our pain and helps improve our mood. So is it good for us to cry? Yes, and here's why. Crying, whether it's happiness or sadness, releases endorphins. And that's why people say that they feel better after they had a really good cry. Now, there's another time when we release endorphins. And endorphins are what make us feel good. You know when that is? That's when we interact with other people. Now, I want to ask you how well we've done interacting with other people. These statistics are before COVID. 28% of the households in the United States are made up of one person. 34% are 2 people. So 62% of the households in the United States are only 1 or 2 people. Now this one, 22% of the fast food meals are eaten in the car, in the parking lot alone. That's before all the fast food places close their dining room. There's no telling what percent of those meals now are eaten in the car, in the parking lot alone. 44% of adult meals are eaten alone. The number 1 eating occasion in the United States is breakfast alone. The number 2 eating occasion in the United States is an afternoon snack alone. The number 3 eating occasion in the United States is a late night snack alone. That's the top 3 eating occasions in the United States are meals eaten alone. And 72% of what we call family meals in the United States had no one at the table under the age of 18. Years ago, I walked into a fast food restaurant here in Lower City, and I recognized a friend of mine behind the grill flipping hamburgers. And he had a hollow look, and it just did not look like him. And I sat with the person I was having the meal with, and the entire meal, I said, I am concerned about him. It doesn't look like he's present. Something is wrong. But I was convinced that he was embarrassed because I knew that his family owned a business in Lower City where he had been employed. And I decided with the best judgment that I had at the time that if he was embarrassed, that I would add to that by approaching him. I couldn't get him away from his peers and coworkers if I had stepped up there and said, "Are you okay? Do you need help?" And so I got in my car and drove back to work. And that night, that friend ended his life as a result of suicide. After that, I started taking the risk. I take the risk that I might embarrass somebody. I got a phone call once from a gentleman with another company, and something his company had done had cost our company a lot of money. And he said, "I feel so badly to call and give you this news." He said, "Tonight when I leave work, I don't know if I should go all the way to the house or if I should stop on the Fort Loudon Bridge and jump in the river." And I said, "Wait a minute. This is the most important thing that we could talk about. What you said a minute ago is not important. What you just said. You pass by our plant before you get to the bridge. You pull in here and let's talk. You don't cross that bridge." And he has reminded me of that many times since. In the United States, from 1999 to 2018, suicides increased by 35%. In 2019, 12 million American adults seriously thought about suicide that we know of. 3.5 million planned a suicide attempt that we know of. 1.4 million in the United States in 2019 alone attempted suicide. That's 160 per hour. And one person died from suicide every 11 minutes. It is the elephant in the room. It's the second leading cause of death for people from age 10 to 34, and we're not talking about it. We must turn this around. Matthew 7:25 starts out saying, and the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house. It doesn't just say a storm, because a storm is made up of many things, or in this case, many parts of the elephant. Now, the good news is, after the rain, the floods, and the winds beat upon that house, Matthew 7:25 says, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. No one is immune to the heartaches of life. My story happens to be one of answered prayer. I hope that it brings you encouragement. I'm putting myself in a position of vulnerability, and I'm okay with that. If it helps one person who has depression, or if it helps a family or a friend or coworker, somebody that knows someone, and it will help them be more empathetic. During the darkest time in my life, I shared my experiences with my family. And this morning I want to share them with you because I love you just like I love them. And I want you to be better able to recognize the signs. And I want you to be better able to, if you see something, say something. So some people might say, did you know Johnny had nearly lost his mind? The friends, the people that know me best, are going to say, how would you know? So, what evidence could you present that things have changed? So, please also tell them that I found it again. And I have. And my prayer is that they never go through this, but if they do, I'll be here for them. It can happen when you least expect it. I was in Alabama 2 weeks ago, and I got a call from a friend. He was a successful businessman, very healthy, a beautiful family, very active in his church. And he said, John Ed, I used to be critical and judgmental of people who said they were depressed. He said, I thought they were lazy and not motivated until I spent 2 years face down in my pillow, crying, and couldn't explain why. Now, he made it through. And he said, today, I speak truth into other people's lives. And that's what I'm trying to do today. On October 5th, 1995, my dad was working on his Sunday school lesson. And there was heavy traffic on Highway 70. And growing up in that house, we all knew when there's heavy traffic on Highway 70, it meant there had been a bad wreck on 40. And he wrote in his Sunday school lesson, if you haven't had storms in your life, be prepared, because the clouds may already be gathered. Now, he had no idea at that time that 3 hours later, I would show up at their house to let mom and dad know that wreck was their daughter, my sister, Mary Lee, had been killed in a car wreck. He and mom led the HOPE chapter, which stands for Helping Other People Endure, the HOPE chapter of Compassionate Friends for many, many years. But after her death, one of the